Shalom. This is Hadassah Batsaiwan returning with a brand new study called The Two Trees. And this is part 1 called One Commandment, Two Trees. Satan's diabolical plot trying to destroy Adam and his righteous descendants. And who are the righteous descendants of Adam? Let's find out. Satan was cast down from heaven and lost his position and his glory. That glory was given to Abraham and his descendants. So not only do we have the glory that was once Satan's or Lucifer, we also have the glory that Adam had. We will be doubled up with the glory, an improved, upgraded glory. That's what's coming, and that's what's at stake. That's why the battles are vicious against us, the children of Yashrael. Speaking specifically of the southern kingdom, the northern kingdom, they're not really facing anything just yet, but they're going to get their due in due season. But we're facing some tremendous trials and tribulations, especially in these last days, because Satan knows that the Most High is getting ready to regather us. And once he does that, he knows what's going to happen next. His days will be numbered. They have already grown short, but now they'll be numbered. There'll be a literal number next to his name. You can go so far and no further, and that's the ending of you, Satan. Satan despised the fact that he was subjected to Adam when Adam was placed on the earth in the Garden of Eden. He was given dominion of the earth, which meant everything was subjected to him, including Satan and the fallen angels. Satan knows that he cannot destroy what Allah has created, so he seeks to corrupt to the point where we self-destruct. We do the work for him. And not only do we do it to ourselves, we do it to each other. Satan has devised plans that are layered like an onion. When we think we are awoke to one thing, there's always something else that we have to reconsider and rethink. Remember, his plans have been in place for thousands of years, from the time he was in the Garden of Eden with Adam and Hawa. So he had plenty of time to build an onion of lies. And that's why we have brethren that claim they are awoke. But then when you listen to them and how they speak and the names that they call the Most High, you wonder to yourself, are you really awake, son or daughter? Are you awake? You're still sleeping because you don't know the name. You don't know his name. You don't know his title. You're still sleeping. And not only about the name, but it's about the covenant as well and the commandments. All these things that he has given to us to keep from generation to generation. And layer by layer, Satan has devised plans to keep us away from the plans and purposes of the Most High, from doing his will. Oh, you don't have to do that. That's Old Testament. That's Old Covenant. You don't have to be circumcised. That's Old Covenant. He just wants you to be circumcised in the heart. How about he wants us to be both circumcised in the flesh and in the heart? But they don't think about that. They just find the path of least resistance. The one that hurts the least, where they can still hold on to the most. All right? That's the people we are. We've always been like this. And these are all Satan's plans in action in our lives. And that's why we can go so far and no further, and then this storm will come against us, and then we get all upset and angry. Where is the Most High? Why did He let this happen to me? Well, are you serving Him with your whole heart or with a part of your heart? Are you upholding all of His commandments or only the ones that are convenient for you? Are you keeping His Shabbat on His day, or are you keeping Shabbat on an unholy day? Don't blame Him for the evil that's coming against you. Blame yourself. He has been planning our demise. This is still Satan. Second to last point. He has been planning for our demise since the beginning of time, and have perfected his multi-layered plans. Many of our brethren are going to perish. And when I say perish, I don't mean just die and then they'll be raised again in the millennial reign of Hamashiach. No, I'm talking about being condemned to the lake of fire. Many of our brethren, many of them. But that's okay, because the Father doesn't need a multitude to fulfill His purpose. Never ever has He ever used a multitude. He looks for a remnant. And that remnant, He can cause them to multiply to be a multitude. So if you think that He can't do without you and you can carry on as you're carrying on, disobeying Him, then you are sadly mistaken. Unfortunately for Satan, he in his own deception, remember, he has deceived himself first. And deception is like gangrene or cancer, it spreads. And he has underestimated the power of the Most High Ha'ola Yawan, who is ultimately controlling his every move. Satan has no power over the Most High. The Most High is permitting him because He's using him to sift us, to separate the chaff from the wheat, the tears from the wheat. That's all He's using him for. He's a pawn in the palm of the Most High. And when He said go there, he has to go there. When He tells him you can't do this, he has to stop. He can't do it. Satan has no power over the Most High. He has power over us. As long as we are disobedient to the Most High, He has ultimate power over us. Because disobedience, it is part of the darkness that He is. And that's how He controls us. But when we're obedient to the Most High, we're in the light. And He has no power over us. So let's look at the lesson. We're going to start from the beginning, as we always do. Bara'ah Shayath, book of Genesis, chapter 2, verse 9. And out of the ground made Yahweh Elohim to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. The tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So now we know the two trees. One is called the tree of life, and the other tree is called the tree of knowledge of good and evil. In the beginning, there were two trees in the middle of the garden of Eden. One tree was called the tree of life, and the other tree was called the tree of knowledge of good and evil. These two trees were side by side of each other. Adam and Hawa were forbidden to eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, but they were free to eat of the tree of life. In fact, they were free to eat from any other tree in the garden. But don't eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Bara'ah Shayath, Book of Genesis chapter 2, and we drop down to verse 15. And Yahweh Elohim took the man and put him into the garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it. And Yahweh Elohim commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but the tree of knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat of it. For in the day that you eat thereof, you shall surely die. This command was given to Adam before the woman Hawa was created. And it was through her disobedience and subsequently Adam's disobedience that sin entered into them and then into this earthly realm called the earth. Do you know Satan cannot come into your space unless you invite him? Do you know that? Do you know he's barred from you unless you invite him in? He cannot invade your personal space. He cannot come into your marriage. He cannot come into your home, into your workplace, into your life, unless you invite him in. And how do you invite him in? By being disobedient, being rebellious. You're watching shows that you're not supposed to be watching on the telly or on the internet. You're in relationships that you're not supposed to be in relationships with whoever. You're listening to music that you're not supposed to be listening to. And let me warn you, Christian music is a dangerous music as well. Very dangerous. A lot of those artists, they call themselves, a lot of them are witches, involved in witchcraft. And they draw you in with the music, with the lyrics, and with the rhythm. And that's how you invite the spirits in. And then you wonder why you feel a certain way when you listen to certain music. And then from that thought, you have this great desire, and then you put it into action. Because you have invited spirits in, and when they come, they do not come one at a time. And they never ever stay alone. They will invite their friends to come. Although there are no friendships amongst them, they just have one common goal to keep them together instead of fighting each other. They hate us so much, and that's their common goal. But when one comes in, he's going to invite 7 more. And then you have trouble all around you, and you're pulling your hair out like, how did this happen? I prayed and I fasted and I did this and I did that. Well, what are you listening to? What are you watching? What are you reading? These are ways in which the spirit comes in, the evil spirits come into our realm. Listen, sometimes you don't even have to intentionally click on something on your feed. You accidentally click it and all of a sudden, boom, it happens. You just got to pray and close that thing quickly. It's portals. That's how they get in, through portals. And whether you do it accidentally or not, they come. Because you opened up the portal. It's like you open up the front door and you don't expect a thief to come in. You leave it open, he's going to come in. If the doors and the windows are closed, how is he going to get in? So he comes into this realm only by invitation. And the more troubles that you're enduring in your life means that there are many portals open. And the first thing you need to do is repent, confess, get into some fasting as well, clean house, seal up the portals. It makes no sense you closing the doors, closing the portals, and they're still inside. That's stupid. Cast them out and seal the portals so that they cannot come back. Meaning, stop watching TV. Shut off your cable. You want extra cash in your pocket? Turn off your cable. Stop listening to stupid music. This secular music that you're listening to, oh, this rap artist is so conscious. This conscious artist. And he has conscious lyrics that speaks to me. Do you not know that all popular music is written in which language? Did you know that? That's why the lyrics, they don't make sense. But you sing it because the song has been played on the airwaves over and over and over again until it is sealed in your brain. And then you find yourself humming the song and singing the lyrics. That's invoking curses upon you. Every single popular artist, whether they're Christian or not, as long as they're being played on the airwaves, they were given the lyrics to sing. All right? So don't think that they're so good because they're Christians. That's why some of them later on come out and say, oh yeah, by the way, I was, I am a rainbow person. They always come out later on. Once they get a following, oh, by the way, I'm a rainbow person. I have anything against rainbows, but these are who these people are. The alphabet people. The alphabet rainbow people. Because our Father doesn't have a rainbow, he has a bow. Theirs is a rainbow. All right, let's move on. So that's how Satan comes into our realm. And I promise, and I said this before in another video, that I want to do a study on spiritual warfare. All right? It will be a magnificent study. And I have put some notes together, but I have so much on my plate right now. The Father, he directs me as to what he wants me to do next. I can't do anything without him, but it is on my plate. And it is part of a study, a bigger study that I'm going to look at. All right? And I'm going to present to you. Because this is something that we need to learn, how to deal with spiritual warfare. Right? It's not sufficient that you get someone to pray for you. You run up to the pastor and get him to lay hands on you, or the elders or someone, and you may feel good until you leave the church or wherever you've been. One of those seminars. Because he didn't do anything. Because the same devils are troubling you, are troubling him too. I kid you not. He just looked fancy and speak like he's some sort of orator. They're very good speakers, but they got devils in their lives too. So how can Satan cast out Satan? And we know what will happen if that happens. His kingdom will collapse. So he's not going to cast out anything. He's just going to tell that spirit, shh, quiet. Let her or him think that my servant, this pastor, has done something. So be quiet. And as soon as she leaves here, invite a thousand more into her life. Well, they can invite up to 6,000 more. All kinds of troubles. And that's why a lot of people become very despondent with the church and think that they have more problems in the church than outside the church. Why? Because that's where Satan's seed is. The leaders are his servants. They're not the servants of the Most High. And I promise to move on, so let's go. But yes, I will do a study on spiritual warfare and teach you how to deal with these devils, these unclean spirits, once and for all. Bara'ah Genesis chapter 3 verse 6. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her. Adam, who had the command, was standing right next to her, and he did eat. He didn't say anything. He didn't say, but wife, first of all, why are you even looking at that tree? Why are you talking to this serpent? No, because his eyes were on her and her eyes were on the fruit, were on the tree. Verse 7, and the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. Verse 8, and they heard the voice of Yahweh Elohim walking in the garden in the cool of the day. Can a voice walk? Because he's spirit. He is spirit. He came to them in his spirit form, because that's how he communed with Adam and Hawa. And they were not afraid of him, because they were made in his image. Except he gave them a bodily form. So they were both physical and spiritual. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahweh Elohim amongst the trees of the garden. That's the first thing sin does. When you commit a sin, you lie to hide it, or you hide to avoid being confronted with it. Fear, shame, embarrassment. This is what sin does. To understand the significance of what took place in the garden and what these two trees represent will help you to understand what had happened to the generations of Adam and Hawa. In order to be restored to the place where Adam and Hawa were before they fell into sin, we have to understand what happened. So let's start at the beginning. And this time we're going into the Apocrypha to get a detailed look at Adam and Hawa when they were in the garden before they fell. When you see what they had and what happened to them after they lost what they had, then you understand the battles that we're dealing with today. And the battle is to restrict you from going to the tree of life, from eating of the tree of life. Satan wants you to constantly eat of his rotten tree. All right? Adam and Hawa were created in the image and likeness of Hashaddai. Bara'ah Shayath, Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, and Elohim said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. So Elohim created Adam in his image. In the image of Elohim created he them, male and female created he them. Yahweh Alahayam is glory, and a fiery glory at that. Prophets that saw him fell over as dead men and had to be raised to their feet because his glory is an all-consuming fire. When Masha said to him, "Show me your glory," he was told that it was not possible for flesh to see the face of Alahayam and live. No, it's not. Shamawath, Book of Exodus, chapter 33, starting from verse 18. And he said, this is Masha speaking to Alahayam, "I beseech you, show me your glory." What a bold statement. Verse 19, and he said, "I will make all my goodness pass before you, and I will proclaim the name of Yahweh before you. I will be gracious and will show mercy on whom I will show mercy." Verse 20, and he said, "You cannot see my face, for there shall no man see me and live." Flesh can't handle glory. Verse 21, and Yahweh said, "Behold, there is a place beside me. You shall stand upon a rock. And it shall come to pass, while my glory passes by," this is the essence of who he is, "that I will put you in the cleft of the rock and will cover you with my hand while I pass by. Otherwise, Masha, you will die." But you will say, but how come he brought him up to the mountain, Mount Sinai, for 40 days and 40 nights? Okay, let's read on. Don't want to go ahead of myself. Verse 23, and I will take away my hand, and you shall see my back parts, but my face shall not be seen. When Hanawak, Zaka'al, which is Ezekiel, Yasha'oya, which is Isaiah, and Yawachanan, who is John, we're talking about John, the apostle, when they saw Yahweh sitting upon his fiery throne with wheels of fire and all the angels around him, and when Masha spoke to him face to face up on the mountain, there wasn't a discrepancy concerning what the Most High said. No man can see me and live. He's speaking the truth. But remember, he is creator of all. He can do whatever he wants to do. Just as he covered Masha and revealed only what he wanted him to see, so he did the same to every prophet that stood before him. He covered them, and this allowed them to see a fraction of who he is and not the fullness of who he really is. This was for their protection. Nevertheless, even at a fraction, they fainted and had to be revived. The Most High will send his angels, lift up the man, right, upon his feet. They can't even stand before him. They will faint or pass out or even die. He has to come and raise them up, lift them up. Masha's face glowed after seeing the back parts of the glory of the Most High. All this goes to show that his glory is so powerful that any flesh that looks upon him will surely die. Seriously. You can't look at him in your natural self. First of all, we are so imperfect and he is so perfect, that just would not happen. But let's say, for argument's sake, he's coming to you in a vision, or he's taking you up to see him. You're only seeing partially who he is. He will never allow you to see the fullness of who he is, because we can't handle it. We will disintegrate. In saying this, when Yahweh Alahayam walked in the garden with Adam and Hawa, they did not die. because they were in his image and in his likeness. They were spiritual so that they can see him and still live. And they were also physical because they can actually walk in the garden, because the garden was a physical place. And they were on earth, which is a physical place. But they were both physical and spiritual. And there were glory, bright with his light. They were carrying his glory, the same glory that he is. So there was no need for them to be afraid. In fact, there was no fear. There was just harmony between him and them. The fear only came when they disobeyed the one commandment. First book of Adam and Hawa, chapter 4, verse 1. But Adam and Hawa cried for having come out of the garden, which was their first home. And indeed, when Adam looked at his flesh, he saw that it was altered. And he cried bitterly. He and Hawa cried over what they have done. And by the way, Hawa is the correct name for our first mother. They call her Eve, but Eve is the queen of heaven. It is not the same name. Hawa is her correct name. So when they came out, before they came out of the garden, from the moment they disobeyed the Most High, they lost their glory. All right? And then they were able to see themselves. The garment that they once wore, which was the garment of glory, the garment of light, was gone. Chapter 6, same book, verse 4. And Yahweh said to Adam and Hawa, you transgressed of your own free will until you came out of the garden in which I had placed you. Of your own free will have you transgressed through your desire for divinity, greatness, and an exalted state, such as I have. This had been the sin of Satan, the deception of Satan. That's why he fell. And he passed this deception on to Adam and Hawa. And that's why we have people in this world, whether Gentiles or brethren, they're seeking for greatness. They want to be exalted. They want to be called by their titles. This is Satan. This is his deception. And they strive for greatness and great wealth and positions. Again, this is deception from the enemy. This is not the Father's way. The Father's way, you can tell the difference between a servant of the Most High and a servant of Satan. Servant of Satan seeks for glory and greatness. The servant of the Most High seeks after him. And they want to be a servant, to serve him and him alone. That's the difference between the two. So he said, still verse 5, you transgress through your desire for divinity, greatness, and an exalted state, such as I have. Therefore, I deprived you of the bright nature which you had then. You had it then, and you lost it. And I made you come out of the garden to this land, rough and full of trouble. And that was the land in which they were created, land called Elda. Verse 6, if only you had not transgressed my commandment and had kept my law, one law, and had not eaten of the fruit of the tree which I told you not to come near. And they were fruit trees in the garden better than that one. But you see, this is how wickedness, darkness, temptation, all these things rolled into one works. This is how they work. If you're a parent and you tell your child not to do X, Y, and Z, even if it was not in their mind before you warned them not to do it, the fact that you warned them not to do it is almost like an invitation to do it. They will seek to do it because that's how temptation works. It goes against obedience. Chapter 8, same book, verse 1. And Adam cried and said, O Alahayam, when we lived in the garden and our hearts were lifted up, we saw the angels that sang praises in heaven, but now we can't see like we once saw. When we entered the cave, all creation became hidden from us. So what the Most High did, because he had great mercy towards Adam and Hawa for what they did, so he gave them a cave on another mountain called the Cave of Treasures to be like a sanctuary for them. And that's where they had to live. Verse 2. Then Yahweh Alahayam said to Adam, when you were under subjection to me, you had a bright nature within you. You had my light. You had my glory. And for that reason, you could see distant things. For that reason, you could see into the spiritual realms. Because you had light. But after you transgressed, your bright nature was taken out of you. And it was not left in you to see distant things, to see into the spiritual realms. But only things near to you, as is the ability of the flesh, for it is brutish. So now all you can see is this realm, the earthly realm, the physical realm. You cannot see into the spiritual realm anymore. Now we go to chapter 11, same book, verse 1. Adam and Hawa then felt themselves burning with thirst and heat and sorrow. When they were in the garden, they had none of these experiences. Nothing like this. They were living in perfect harmony in the garden with the Most High and the things he created in the garden. The animals, living with the fruit trees. They had freedom to eat anything they wanted to eat, drink from the water of life, eat from the tree of life. But no, they want to eat from the one tree that they were told not to eat from. Verse 2. And Adam said to Hawa, we shall not drink of this water even if we were to die. Oh, Hawa, when this water comes into our inner parts, it will increase our punishments and that of our descendants. No, he's thinking about us. He didn't think about us when they were being tempted. But now after the fact, he's thinking about his descendants. Verse 3. Both Adam and Hawa then went away from the water and drank none of it at all, but came and entered the cave of treasures. But when in it, Adam could not see Hawa. He only heard the noise she made. Neither could she see him, but heard the noise he made because it was dark. This is the first time they're experiencing darkness. You see what sin does? One little mistake they made, and look at all the troubles that they had to endure. Verse 5. Then Adam cried in deep affliction and beat his chest. And he got up and said to Hawa, where are you? And she said to him, "Look, I'm standing here in this darkness." He then said to her, "Remember the bright nature in which we lived when we were in the garden?" This is one of the most painful things that I've had to read and study, because I felt their pain. And I felt such pity and mercy for these two people that lived in perfection. And now they're living in a world that is full of troubles. Because that's the realm in which Satan was roaming. And he was coming at them time after time after time to destroy them. It was so painful to read all these things that they had to go through. All because of that one little mistake. And that is not something, because we might make one simple little mistake, but then the consequences of that one little mistake can be volumes of trouble, can bring volumes of trouble. Trouble upon trouble upon trouble. And even though you may have repented for it, the Father cannot and will not take away the consequences. Just like what he did with Adam and Hawa. He knew they were sorry. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. There is a story unfolding here. So he said to Hawa, "Where are you?" Verse 6. And she said to him, "Look, I'm standing here in this darkness." And then he's reflecting about the bright nature in which they lived in when they were in the garden. The light that they had in the garden, there was no darkness in the garden. Verse 8. "Oh, Hawa, remember the glory that rested on us in the garden? Oh, Hawa, remember the trees that overshadowed us in the garden while we moved among them? They never felt heat. They didn't feel cold. Everything was perfect until now." Verse 9. "Oh, Hawa, remember that while we were in the garden, we knew neither night nor day. Think of the tree of life. From below it flowed the water that shed splendor over us. Remember, O Hawa, the land of the garden and the brightness of it." Verse 10. Think of that garden in which there was no darkness while we lived in it. Darkness only came when they sinned. But the darkness didn't come into the garden. They were kicked out of the garden where there was light. And that's where the darkness met them, outside of the garden. Outside of the garden. That's where they encountered darkness for the first time. That's where they encountered everything that was plaguing them for the first time. Hot, cold, thirst, hunger, sexual desires. All these things were plaguing them. Verse 11. "But sooner did we come into this cave of treasures than darkness surrounded us all around until we can no longer see each other. And all the pleasure of this life has come to an end." They felt that was it. They're done for. Chapter 26, verse 1. "Then Adam took Hawa, and they began to return to the cave of treasures where they lived. But when they got closer to it and saw it from a distance, heavy sorrow fell on Adam and Hawa when they looked at it. Then Adam said to Hawa, 'When we were on the mountain, we were comforted by the word of Allah who talked to us.'" And that word is in capital letters because that is Hamashiach. Remember, Allah is a title. It means ascended glory. So that title is given to Hamashiach, is given to the Ruach HaKadosh, who is the Holy Spirit, and it's also given to Yahweh. Allah is their title. So they were comforted by the word of Allah who talked to us and the light that came from the east shone over us. Now I have the word mountain highlighted because it showed you that the Garden of Eden was on a mountain. Yes, it was. So he traded one mountain for another mountain. The Most High only deals with mountains. He does not deal with the valleys. When we sin and we're disobedient, we end up in the valley. Just like Cain. Cain and his children lived in the valley. But Sawach, who is Seth, lived on the mountain along with his children. We'll see that later on. And when the Most High comes back, when Hamashiach returns to this earth and he sets up his kingdom, it's going to be on a mountain called Mount Zion. Mount Zion. Verse 3. But now the word of Allah Hayam is hidden from us, and the light that shone over us has changed so much that it has disappeared. And let darkness and sorrow cover us. Consequence of sin. Darkness and sorrows. Verse 4. And we are forced to enter this cave that is like a prison, in which darkness covers us so that we are separated from each other. You cannot see me, I cannot see you, because now their spiritual sight has been shut off. So all they can see, if there's a little light, will be the stone above them and around them, and maybe an entrance. And if there's darkness, they can't see anything. This is what sin does. Verse 5. When Adam had said these words, they cried and spread their hands before Allah Hayam because they were full of sorrow. And they prayed to Allah Hayam to bring the sun for them to shine on them so that darkness would not return to them. And that they wouldn't have to go under this covering of rock. They wanted to die rather than see the darkness. They were very repentant. They were very sorry for what they've done. But unfortunately, the Most High knew that they were going to do this, so he set a plan in action once they transgressed his law. Once they transgressed the law, it set certain things in action in order to bring them back. And not only them, but their descendants, their righteous descendants. You see, the Most High, before he even laid the foundation of this earth, he knew that Adam and Hawa was going to do this. So he had already had his plans laid out. All right? So this was no surprise to the Most High. But he's not going to force himself on them. He told them what to do and what not to do. And he gave them the one law. And that was to prevent them from making this huge mistake. If they had listened to him and if they were obedient. But they didn't listen to him. And this is what happens to us when we do not listen to the voice of the Most High. We do not listen to his counsel, or we do not go to him for counsel. We may go to another man for counsel, or a woman for counsel. You go to your leaders for counsel, but you do not go to the Most High to get true wisdom from him. True counsel from him. Let what they say be confirmation of what he has already spoken to you. There's nothing wrong seeking advice from a friend. But let that advice that you get from them be confirmation of what the Most High has already spoken to you. You pray to him and you seek counsel. We're all fallible. We're all prone to error. All right? So when you go to someone who's prone to error just like you put in your trust in something or someone that can lead you the wrong way. Why not put your trust and your faith in the one person who will never lead you astray? That's the Most High. But that's difficult for some of us because sometimes we don't want to know what he's going to tell us, because it goes against the thing that we really want to do. So we go to a friend who you know will tell you the things that you want to hear and the things that you want to do, right? Because that's the way how the flesh operates, and that's the way how Satan deceives us. You don't really want the truth. If you really wanted the truth, you would go to the Most High. You just want your back patted, ears tickled, right? And we are at move on then to the next slide. Verse 7. Then Alahayam looked at Adam and Hawa and at their great sorrow and all they had done with a fervent heart because of all the trouble they were in. He was merciful towards them. He was not angry with them. He had such great pity for them. And he did what he could to make their lives comfortable. As comfortable as they can be in sin, in the darkness that they were living in. He gave them little tokens from the garden to cheer them up. That's the awesomeness of the Most High. He'll get angry. When we repent, then it's done. He's not angry with us anymore, and he's not going to bring it up next time he's angry with us. And hopefully there's no next time. He's not going to rehearse old issues. Once it's done, and he said it's done, it's completely finished. You can guarantee that. Verse 7. When compared to their former state of well-being, all the misery that came over them did so in this strange land, because they were not used to living in Eldah, they were used to living in the Garden of Eden. Verse 8. Therefore Alahayam was neither angry with them nor impatient, but he was patient and long-suffering towards them as toward the children he had created. Verse 9. Then the word of Alahayam came to Adam and said to him, Adam, regarding the sun, if I were to take it and bring it to you, hours, days, months, and years would all stop. And the covenant I have made with you would never be fulfilled. So the Most High, before Adam and Hawa left the garden, he made a covenant with them, which we'll see in the next slide. Or maybe this slide. He made a covenant with them. And that covenant had a time attached to it. All right? Now, if he had removed the sun and gave it to them so that they would be in a perpetual day, never seeing nighttime, then time would not pass by. And then they would not be able to fulfill that time that he had allotted to them to be fulfilled. And they'll be stuck in a perpetual day, in their perpetual misery. Verse 10. And you will be deserted and stuck in a perpetual plague, and you would never be saved. Because he had salvation set apart for them, and us too, because we need it at a specific time frame. Okay, let's read on. Verse 11. Yes, rather bear up long and calm your soul while you live night and day until the fulfillment of the days and the time of my covenant has come. He said, cheer up. Verse 12. Then I shall come and save you, Adam. I do not wish for you to be afflicted. And when I look at all the good things that you lived in before and why you came out of them, then I'm willing to show you mercy. He understood their misery. He really did. Like I'm saying, the Most High, He is an awesome Father, an amazing Father, a wonderful Father. Verse 14, but I cannot alter the covenant that has gone out of my mouth. What goes out of His mouth must be accomplished, must be fulfilled, and He's not going to change it to suit us. When He speaks purpose and He speaks plans, and they must come to pass because He already has it all established before the foundation of the earth was laid. Everything was laid out. So He's not going to change that, change His words, change His covenants. No, He's not. It must accomplish. All His words must be accomplished. His words are His prophecies, right? They must be accomplished and fulfilled. So He said, I cannot alter the covenant that has gone out of my mouth. No, I will not. Otherwise, I would have brought you back into the garden. We can say, well, He can do anything. Yes, He can do anything He wants to do. But the Most High, He has order in His plans. And He has purpose in His plans. And we do not always see the order or the purpose. We just see our needs, our immediate needs. But what He sees the ending from the beginning. And that's why He can stand on His plans and not change them. Because He already knows what the outcome will be. We don't know what the outcome will be. We just want to get out of the misery. Like being stuck here on the earth. Like with all this wickedness going on. How long? How much longer? I'm sure the righteous remnant, we're all crying out, how much longer? But He has things in motion that He's not going to stop just because we're crying out. It is good to cry out. Don't stop crying out. He hears our cries. Remember, His ears hear when the righteous cry out. So keep crying out. And you're not doing it because you're being selfish. You're doing it because you're tired, you're weary, and you just want to go home now. You just want to be with Him. You've had enough of the wickedness of this world. Every day there's another level deeper of wickedness. Not even higher, deeper. Because they can't go any higher, they go deeper. And you wonder, how much longer? How much longer? How much longer? How much more can we take? Especially when you start to learn about the righteousness of the Most High. You're reading these kinds of books that tells you about the righteousness of the Most High and the garden and the glory and all these wonderful things that are waiting for us. It's almost like you just can't wait any longer because of the evil and the wickedness. So don't stop crying out. Adam and Hawa, they cried out all day long. And the Most High heard them. And He responded to them. And He would send His Ruach HaKadosh to us to comfort us. To say, just a little while longer. And then it'll be over. Just a little while longer. But don't stop doing what He is telling you to do. Don't stop walking in righteousness. Don't pull back. This is no time to pull back. We got to keep pressing on and pressing forward till we get to the finish line. And that's the only time we stop, because that's the time of our eternal rest. But we got to keep pressing on and pressing forward. Don't let Satan fool you to tell you that you're doing nonsense, or you're doing all of this and nothing's going to come of it. He's never going to come for you. Don't listen to Satan. In fact, don't even speak to him. Keep praising the Most High and keep crying out. And keep pressing. This is a time where we need to really make our extra oil, so that we can see him. He needs to press us. And this is our time of pressing. And yeah, unlike the foolish virgins, well, all 10 of them died. We're not going to die, but we still need to be pressed. Right? We still need to be pressed, because that anointing, that power that comes when he presses us is what's going to help us into the kingdom. It's going to be our light into the kingdom. Okay. Verse 12. Okay, no, I think we passed that. Verse 15, sorry. However, when the covenant is fulfilled, then I will show you and your descendants mercy, and bring you into a land of gladness, where there is neither sorrow nor suffering, but abiding joy and gladness, and light that never fails, and praises that never cease, and a beautiful garden that will never pass away. He's going to return us to the Garden of Odan. The Garden of Odan is the kingdom of heaven. It's not here on the earth. Anyone tells you it's in Africa, they're a liar. Don't even respond to them. It's in third heaven. In fact, I did a study on the kingdom of heaven. Spoiler alert. But I give you plenty of evidence and proof of where this garden is, of where the kingdom of heaven is, and what it really is. It is the Garden of Odan. It's the place where he dwells. Well, he dwells in seventh heaven, but it's a place where he dwells with his creation. He created it for Adam and Hawa because they were both physical and spiritual. The kingdom of heaven, aka the Garden of Odan, is both physical and spiritual. That's why he took it off the earth and it's in third heaven right now. And that's where the southern kingdom is going to go until he brings it back to the earth. And that's going to be his kingdom, where his tabernacle will be set up and worship will be set up, right, on Mount Saiwan. And I already went through all of that in the kingdom of heaven. If I go over and over, then it will make this video very, very long, and I just want to focus on the two trees. But that's just giving you a little snippet of what is in that particular study. All right, the Garden of Odan is going to come back to the earth in the millennial reign of Hamashiach, and we're going to return with him and rejoin the 9.5 tribes. All right, to be 12 tribes again, one kingdom. All right, let's move on. Allah made a covenant with Adam and Hawa before they left the Garden of Odan. This covenant is also extended to us, their offspring. So he didn't just make it for them, he made it for the entire generations of Adam and Hawa, speaking specifically of a particular lineage. First book of Adam and Hawa, chapter 3, verse 1. Allah said to Adam, I have ordained days and years on this earth, and you and your descendants shall live and walk in them until the days and years are fulfilled. Then I shall send the word. Who is that? Hamashiach, that created you and against which you have transgressed. The word, that should have been capital letter W, that made you come out of the garden and that raised you when you were fallen. Because there were many times that either Satan killed Adam and Hawa, or he, because of great sorrows, died. And he sent Hamashiach to raise them up. Verse 2. Yes, this is the word that will again save you when the 5.5 days are fulfilled. So this is the covenant that he made with them in the Garden of Eden before he threw them out. Verse 3. But when Adam heard these words from Elohim and of the great 5.5 days, he did not understand the meaning of them. For Adam cried and prayed to Elohim to explain it to him. Verse 6. Then Elohim, in his great mercy, in his mercy for Adam, who was made after his own image and likeness, explained to him that these were 5,500 years, and how the one would then come and save him and his descendants. Okay, let's pause there for a second, because I did a study on the 5,500 years, and I'm trying to remember which. I believe it's in our covenant. Yes, it's in our covenant. That study, that big study called Our Covenant. And I explained to you the significance of the 5,500 years. We know that Hamashiach is going to return on this earth by the 6,000th year of this earth time. All right? Because the Most High has numbers allotted to certain things in order for them to happen. And when you understand the language and even his numericals according to his prophecies, then it comes as nothing. You just understand automatically what it is that he's saying. So the 6,000th year is the 6th day. All right? It is the 6th day according to the testimony in heaven, because 1,000 years on the earth is as one day in the heavens. All right? He said here 5,500 years. 500 years short of 6,000. Now, why is that? Because these are prophetic years. These are prophetic years. The 500 years are gap years. Right? Notice that his jubilees have stopped and started, but yet time just kept going on. All right? So this is the awesomeness of Yahweh's prophetic clock. It can stop and start and start and stop whenever he wants it to start and stop. Just like the 7 weeks of Daniel, which is Daniel, right? Those 7 years are not exactly 7 earthly years. Those are 7 prophetic years. People are getting it all confused, like we only have 7 years left on this earth, and then 7 years are going to go by and we're still going to be here. Well, not us, but them are still going to be here. We'll be gone. We're not here for another year. All right? The 5,500 years, when those 5,500 years are fulfilled, it will be the 6,000th year on the earth. All right? I know it sounds a little bit like, but just think about it this way. If you read the book of Daniel, and it talks about the 62 weeks and the 69 weeks and all these, you come to realize that, hey, it seemed like the prophetic clock had stopped. And now what is left are these 7 years. Right? But that's way back when Daniel prophesied about it. So what happened? What happened? Okay, the Messiah came and he was cut off. All these things happen in tune with the prophetic clock of Yahweh. So now we're waiting for the 7 years to start ticking and to start to be activated. And those 7 years can be stretched according to however many earth years the Most High has it in his own purpose and his plans. We don't know how long the 7 prophetic years are going to last for. Just like we don't know how long the trumpets and the vial judgments are going to last. Oh, people say, oh, it's only 3.5 years of peace and then 3.5 years of judgments. No, 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 no. You have it all wrong. This is what they've been teaching in the churches. This is not the truth. It is not as clear cut as 3.5 years. Those 3.5 years and 3.5 years that you've been seeing are prophetic years. And they can last however long the Most High wants them to last on earth years. All right? So don't get yourself tied up with 3.5. I listen to them. They're talking about, oh, we only have 3.5 years left. And that was 10 years ago. And we're still here. You need to understand how prophecy works. And when he gives you a number, unless he said it is an actual number for this year, think of it as a prophetic number. And he will fulfill it whenever he is ready to fulfill it. All right. So the 5,500 years, when those are fulfilled, know that it will be the 6,000th year on the earth. And then Hamashiach will come to do his 1,000-year reign on the earth, to bring the earth then to 7,000 years, which will be the day of our perpetual rest. The 7th day according to the testimony in the heavens. The testimony of the heavens. And then starts the 8th day. The 8th perpetual day. A day that will never end. Our perpetual rest. We will rest in the 7,000 in the 1,000-year reign of Hamashiach. But now everything is finished. It is all done. Evil is vanquished. Satan is cast into the lake of fire along with all his wicked ones. And now the earth is renewed, the heavens are renewed, and new Yerushalayim comes down. All right? What a wonderful thing to look forward to. What a wonderful time that is awaiting us. If only we believe and if only we are obedient. Verse 7. And the reason why it's only for those who believe and for those who are obedient, because we're the ones that will love, embrace, and rejoice in the goodness of the Most High. The rebels, the ungrateful ones, they will always find a problem in perfection. That's why it's not meant for them. Enough. He's had enough of our stiff-necked brethren. The rebels. The scoffers. Enough of them. He's going to get rid of all of them. The only people that are welcome in are the righteous people that will rejoice with all their heart for the goodness that the Most High has given to us. Verse 7. But before that, Elohim had made this covenant with our father Adam in the same terms before he came out of the garden, when he was by the tree where Hawa took of the fruit and gave it to him to eat. So before he left the garden of Odan, Garden of Eden, the Most High gave him this covenant and prophecy. It was also a prophecy. Verse 8, because when our father Adam came out of the garden, he passed by that tree and saw how Elohim had changed the appearance of it into another form and how it had shriveled. He saw the tree for what it really was. An ugly tree. Ugly tree. Verse 9. And as Adam went to it, he feared and trembled and fell down. And this is what sin does. See, Satan now has power over Adam through his disobedience. Even though he has repented, the fact that he is fearful and trembling and collapsing means that Satan now has dominion over him through fear. He can have dominion over you through lust. But Allah Hayam in his mercy lifted him up and then made this covenant with him. Yochanan, the book of John 1 verse 1, in the beginning was the Word. And the Word was with Allah Hayam, and the Word was Allah Hayam, because that's their title. The same was in the beginning with Allah Hayam, and this is speaking of Hamashiach. All things were made by him, by Hamashiach. He is the Word, the spoken word of Allah Hayam, Yahweh. And without him was not anything made that was made, that should be was made. All things were made by him. So there goes those foolish people that are diminishing Hamashiach before other people, saying that we don't need him to save us. He's a Roman plant. We don't need him. We can go straight to the Father. When all things were placed under him. The Father loves his Son. And when we love him, meaning the Son, Hamashiach, then the Father loves us. Because the righteousness of the Son is what covers us. He covers us. So how can you say, I'm going to go before the Father and pray, but I'm going to bypass Hamashiach, bypass the Ruach HaKodesh, I'm just going to go straight to the throne room? Well, you're not going to go to his throne room. You're going to somebody else's throne room, but it's not his. That's for sure. Because there's only one way to the Father, and that's through the Son. And there's only one way to the Son is through his Ruach HaKodesh. So you are not going to learn about Hamashiach until you invite the Ruach HaKodesh to come in. And when the Ruach HaKodesh comes in, then he will teach you about the Son, and then the Son will lead you to the Father. That's the order. Okay. First book of Adam and Hawa, again, verse 13, chapter 1. Then when Allah Hayam, who is merciful and full of pity, heard Adam's voice, he said to him, "O Adam, so long as the good angel was obedient to me," and he's speaking of Satan now, Lucifer, "a bright light rested on him and on his host." And his host meaning the third angels, it was about a third of them that fell, along with Satan. So those were his hosts. So they all had light. Verse 3, "But when he transgressed my commandment, I dispossessed him of that bright light nature, and he became dark." So he took away his light from him and the fallen angels, and they became darkness. And when he was in the heavens, in the realm of light, he knew nothing of darkness. But he transgressed. What did he do? He made himself higher than the Most High. The same temptation that he gave to Hawa was the same temptation that he used to try to be better, greater, higher than the Most High. And the Father cast him down for that. "And I made him fall from the heavens onto the earth, and it was this darkness that came over him." Now he's speaking of the darkness of the night, physical darkness. But there's physical darkness and spiritual darkness. Nighttime is not evil, but it's what you do in the nighttime that can be evil. All right? Darkness in the nighttime is not evil. He created the nighttime for a purpose. But darkness, which comes because of sin and disobedience, it came because of what Satan originally did through deception and temptations. And that darkness has enveloped him. He is darkness through and through. There's no hope of restoration for Satan and his fallen angels. But there's hope for Adam and Hawa and their righteous descendants. And the Father made sure that he gave us a hope. And that hope is called the Word of Allah Hayam, meaning his Son, Hamashiach, who will deliver us. In fact, he already came and set the ball in motion, called salvation. When he died on the stake, he released his Ruach HaKadosh, he released his word, he released his power in this earth. So now we have a path. He laid the path. And we have his blood as well. All these things Hamashiach has left behind for us so that we don't need to be in the darkness anymore. We can actually be in the light, even in this world of darkness. But Satan does not have that hope. Salvation is not for him. Salvation was only meant for us. Verse 5, but he transgressed and I made him fall from the heavens onto the earth, and it was this darkness that came over him. He became darkness. And, O Adam, while in my garden and obedient to me, that bright light rests also on you. So the same glory that he had, I gave to you. Because it's all my glory, my light. But when I heard of your transgression, I took from you that bright light. Yet of my mercy, I did not turn you into darkness, but I made your body a body of flesh, over which I spread this skin, in order that it may bear cold and heat. Because once they left the garden, they were no longer under the protection of the garden and the light in the garden, and the light coming from them. They're now practically exposed. So you had to give them first a skin body. You had to put skin on their body. No, that doesn't mean that they were skinless. No, they were in a different form. Remember, they were created in his image. They were physical beings as well as spiritual beings. But once they lost the light, they were just a physical being, but they had no they had lost the substance that they were. And they were naked. Now, I'm not trying to envision Adam and Hawa without skin. No, it was nothing like that. They had a body, but the body was different. And he had to cover that body to protect it. Right? That body was protected by the light. But once that light was taken away, now this body is exposed. And he put the skin over the body. Now, what our bodies look like without the skin? I remember some years ago. All right? Some years ago, there was this artist. I can't remember. He was from somewhere in Europe. And what he did, he would get corpse body, dead bodies. And he would literally take the skin off the person so all you see were the muscles. And he would put them in action positions. Right? Now, I did not want to see that exhibition because I thought it was, to me, disgrace It was a disgrace to the human body. When we die, we need to go back to the earth. But again, this is not our people. So they will do whatever their minds tell them to do, whatever their devils tell them to do. But there was one exhibition that I was not even curious to see, but you see on the flyers, because they want to draw people in, to show you a couple examples of his work. And I wasn't even awakened then. When that exhibition came, I said, no way, absolutely no way. This here is an abomination. But what he did is he literally peeled the skin off these people. And some of them were young people too. And he had them like in action positions, like on a skateboard or whatever position he wanted to put them in. But all you saw were the tendons, the muscles, the ligaments, everything. Right? But Adam and Hawa did not look like that. They had a body. But it didn't look like our body today, because our body has the flesh over it. But they had a body. And that body was covered with light. But once the light removed it, once the Most High removed the light, then they were naked. How that body looks, I don't know. We will never know until we see him face to face and he explains these things to us. Or we see it for our own selves when our bodies are transformed. But know this skin that we have on our bodies was not there before. It only came because of sin. And the Father knew, because they were going to be facing some hardships outside of the garden, because they've never felt heat, they've never felt cold, they never felt hunger. All these things they never felt before, and they need to protect the body within. So he gave them a covering of skin. Because our skin is sensitive to heat. It tells us when it's hot, it tells us when we're cold. All right? Let's move on. Verse 8. If I had let my wrath fall heavily on you, I should have destroyed you, and had I turned you into darkness, it would have been as if I had killed you. But because of his mercy, he just threw them out of the garden. But before he threw them out, he gave them a covenant, say, I will bring you back. Verse 9, but in my mercy I have made you as you are when you transgress my commandment. O Adam, I drove you from the garden and made you come forth into this land, and commanded you to live in this cave, and darkness covered you. And it did as it did over him who transgressed my commandment. Now, before I move on to the next slide, I want to say this. Another reason why he had to get them out of the garden ASAP is because if they had eaten from the tree of life, they would have been darkness forever. So he had to make sure to drive them out of the garden as soon as possible to prevent that from happening, because he knew Satan would have tempted them then to go and eat from the tree of life. And then he put his cherubim at the gate to make sure that they cannot come back in. Make sure they do not come back in. They're going to want to come in, but do not let them in. Verse 10. Thus, O Adam, has this night deceived you. It is not to last forever, but it is only of 12 hours. When it is over, daylight will return. Now, this is their first time experiencing nighttime. You've never seen night in the Garden of Eden. Verse 11. Do not sigh or be moved, and do not say in your heart that this darkness is long and drags on wearily. Do not say in your heart that I have plagued you with it. Strengthen your heart and be not afraid. This darkness is not a punishment. No, it wasn't. He created the sun, the moon, and the stars. All right? And he created the sun for time, and the moon for the for the festivals. Adam, I have made the day and have placed the sun in it to give light, in order that you and your children shall do your work. For I know you would sin and transgress and come out into this land. Yet I wouldn't force you, nor write hard over you, nor shut you up, nor doom you through your fall, nor through your coming out from light into darkness, nor yet through your coming from the garden into this land. You see, the Father had great mercy towards them. He knew it. He knew they were going to do it. They did it. He got them out of the garden. And all the things that they're suffering in the outside of the garden are the consequences of what they've done, what their disobedience. They disobeyed his one commandment. Now they're battling Satan constantly, battling temptations. Verse 14, for I made you of the light, and I will to bring out children of light from you that were like you. Verse 15, but you did not keep my commandment one day. Now when he said one day, that meant 1,000 years according to the earth time versus the heavenly time. According to the testimony of heaven, it is one day, but on the earth is 1,000 years. How old was Adam when he died? 970 years. So he was 30 years short of one day. Until I had finished the creation and blessed everything in it. So he did not keep his commandment one day until I had finished the creation and blessed everything in it. Verse 16. Then concerning the tree, I commanded you not to eat of it. Yet I knew that Satan, who deceived himself, would also deceive you. So I made known to you by means of the tree not to come near him. And I told you not to eat of the fruit thereof, nor to taste it, nor yet to sit under it, not to yield to it. Okay. I know some may ask, but then if the Most High knew that Satan was going to try to deceive them, why did he not throw him out of the garden? Because that's not the way how the Most High works. This is not how he is. He's not going to force us to love him, and he's not going to force us to obey him. It is an option, a choice. And a choice that will reap either good consequences or bad consequences, depending on what choice we made. He allowed the tree in the garden to test Adam and Hawa. All right? He allowed it there for that purpose. If they had eaten of the tree of life, they would have lived forever, and evil would have been vanquished forever at that point. But they didn't. He's not going to force himself on us. Even now, as you hear my voice, he speaks to us in a soft voice. He's not going to come and blast his voice in your ear to get you to listen to him and to obey him. And if Adam and Hawa, they were living in perfection and only had one commandment, and they weren't even able to resist the devil and his temptation, how much more for us, living how many thousands of years later, all the sins of the world been compounding over all these generations. And we have to endure all these temptations. There's so many. Really, truly, there are only 3, but they're manifested in many different ways. Satan only has 3 cards up his sleeve. But he can use those 3 cards and make them into 3 million cards. He only has 3 tactics. Lust of the eyes, lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. Those are the 3 things that he tempts us on. And he can manipulate them and change them, but it's the same 3 tactics. Doesn't change. He has nothing new under his sleeve. Okay. So that's why the Most High left left him there. Okay, let's see what my creation is going to do. I give them a command. Let's see if they're going to be obedient to me or disobey me. And it's the same thing when he speaks to us as his children. He tells us, I don't want you to do this. And he sits back and he waits to see what you're going to do with it. Are you going to listen and obey? Or are you going to do your own thing? All right. Verse 17. Verse 18. Had I not spoken to you, O Adam, concerning the tree, and had I left you without a commandment, and you had sinned, it would have been an offense on my part. For not having given you any order, you would turn around and blame me for it. So you see, Adam could not blame the Most High for all the misery that he was going through. Verse 19, but I commanded you and warned you, and you fell. So that my creatures cannot blame me, but the blame rests on them alone. And he does not feel good. He does not feel happy when we fall. Even though he warns us and we go ahead and we make the mistake, it doesn't make him happy. He is sad. Yes, he'll be upset and angry, but he's also very sad. Because he does not like to see us in misery. Verse 20, and O Adam, I have made the day so that you and your descendants can work and toil in it. And I've made the night for them to rest in it from their work, and for the beasts of the field to go forth by night and to look for their food. So nighttime was created for the Most High's purposes. For us to rest and for his nighttime animals to go look for their food. So whoever thinks that nighttime is evil, you're saying that the Most High's creation is evil. Here, he's telling you why he created nighttime. Verse 21, but little of darkness now remains, O Adam, and daylight will soon appear. And you can look at that both physically and spiritually. He was letting him know daylight will soon come upon you once again, O Adam. Chapter 14, verse 1. Then Adam said to Elohim, O Yahweh, take my soul and let me not see this gloom anymore, or remove me to some place where there's no darkness. But Elohim, Yahweh, said to Adam, I say to you, indeed, this darkness will pass from you every day. I've determined for you until the fulfillment of my covenant, when I will save you and bring you back into the garden and into the house of light you long for, in which there is no darkness. I will bring you to it in the kingdom of heaven. In the kingdom of heaven. So the kingdom of heaven is the garden of Eden, but it's called the kingdom of heaven because now it's sitting in the spiritual realm, third realm of the heavens. Hallelujah. I'm going to bring you back to it. Verse 3, again, Elohim said to Adam, all this misery that you have been made to take on yourself because of your transgression will not free you from the hand of Satan, and it will not save you. So now because of disobedience, Satan now has control over him. Right? And now he has to wrestle with Satan and temptations from Satan and all the evil and the wickedness from Satan day by day until he dies. This is what Satan does to us. When we disobey the Most High, we live in misery. And the light begins to go out that was once there. And then there's darkness that will come and draw you into even thicker darkness. And there the enemy now has full control over you. Verse 4. But I will save you, Adam, when I shall come down from heaven and shall become flesh of your descendants, and take on myself the infirmity from which you suffer. Then the darkness that covered you in this cave shall cover me in the grave, when I am in the flesh of your descendants. And this is Hamashiach speaking to him, letting him know it's in the works, Adam, but you gotta wait. It's in the works. And thankfully we have lived and heard about what Hamashiach has done on our behalf, because he did come and he did die and he did take on all our infirmities and he did take it to the grave. And for 3 days he was in the grave. And then he rose again to glory and released the plan of the Most High on behalf of the children of Yashrael to bring us back to him. And you want to deny Hamashiach? Verse 5. And I, who am without years, because he's the Ancient of Days, shall be subject to the reckoning of years, of times, of months, and of days, and I shall be reckoned as one of the sons of men in order to save you. So he had to come in the flesh through the lineage of Yahweh, Judah, to be called the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Hallelujah. He had to come in the likeness of his brethren in order to die for us and redeem us to the Father. He that was without sin became sin because he took on the sins of the world. And not talking about the Gentiles, we're talking about his people. And he that was without years, because he was the Ancient of Days, he is the Ancient of Days. Now he's coming in the flesh, made lower than the angels, because that's what we are. We're made lower than the angels now because of what Adam and Hawa did. And now his age is being reckoned from year to year. But he did all of that to save us, going all the way back to Adam and Hawa. Us today, our future descendants, which I believe is not going to be too many, because I believe that we are the last generation. In fact, let me not say believe, we are the last generation. We are the fig tree generation, because we're seeing the times of the end. So that's it. The generation that will be born from us will not be like how we were. No, they will not. They'll be completely different. Different nature. No sin nature in them. None. We were all born with a sin nature because of what Adam and Hawa did. But once we enter into the kingdom of heaven, all that is done. The sin nature will be taken away. And we will be as Adam and Hawa were, along with what was given to Abraham. Double portion of glory. Hallelujah. You want to give that up for this world? You want to give that up for a job? You want to give that up for a mortgage? You want to give that up for what? For what? An education? Think about all the good things, all the great things that the Most High has waiting for his people. Cannot be compared to all the good things in this world. Because all the good things in this world will rot. But nothing that he gives to us will rot. Ever rot. Will never grow rusty. You want to give his things up, his glory up, for the glory of this earth that will rust and grow dusty? Wow. So this is what he has done. What Hamashiach, he spoke this word to Adam and Hawa, and he fulfilled it. And now all we're waiting now is for him to regather us. Verse 6, and Elohim ceased to commune with Adam. After losing their glory, Adam and Hawa found themselves naked. The glory that was once in them had shone through them, creating, that's supposed to be creating, a garment of light. Elohim first covered them with flesh, and then he gave them skins to make outer garments. Chapter 50, verse 7. Because Adam and Hawa didn't need garments in the garden of Eden, because the light was their garment. And that's coming back. Then came the word of Elohim and said to him, O Adam, take Hawa and come to the seashore where you fasted before. There you will find skins of sheep that were left after the lions ate the carcasses. Take them and make garments for yourself and clothe yourselves with them. Chapter 51, verse 1. When Adam heard these words from Elohim, he took Hawa and went from the northern side of the garden to the south of it, by the river of water where they once fasted. But as they were on their way, and before they arrived, Satan, the wicked one, had heard the word of Elohim communing with Adam, respecting his covering. They were constantly battling Satan. Once they left the garden, they were battling Satan. Just like how we battle Satan morning, noon, and night, and even in our sleep. Verse 3, it distressed him, meaning Satan, and he hurried to the place where the sheepskins were, with the intention of taking them and throwing them into the sea, or burning them so that Adam and Hawa would not find them. Verse 4, but as he was about to take them, the word of Elohim came from heaven and bound him by those skins. You see, that's what I'm saying. Satan has no power. Satan has no power when it comes to the Most High. The Most High has power over Satan, but he has tricked the foolish ones in this world that are serving him to think that he's the one that is the powerful one, and the other guy, oh, he's my servant. He's my lesser being. Right? Because the Father is allowing them to do their wickedness, so they think that Satan has power. Well, he does have power, but he doesn't have ultimate power. The Most High allows him because he has given him all the rope he needs to hang himself and the wicked ones in this world. All right. So he bound him by those skins until Adam and Hawa came near him. Because he wanted Adam and Hawa to see, let me show you who is more powerful than this creature. Who do you see bound? Satan. Who bound him? You did, Most High. So whose power is greater? It will have to be you, O Heavenly Father. But as they got closer to him, they were afraid of him and of his hideous appearance. Sometimes he presents himself to be beautiful. That beautiful woman or that beautiful man. But they got an evil heart. He can come in any form that he wants to come in. Don't think that he's always ugly. Verse 5. Then the word of Elohim came to Adam and Hawa and said unto them, this is he who was hidden in the serpent, who deceived you and stripped you from your garment of light and glory. Verse 6. This is he who promised you majesty and divinity. Where is the beauty that was on him? Where is his divinity? Where is his light? Where is the glory that rested on him? Look at this hideous, hateful creature. Do you see anything of me in him? When you look at me and me in my glory, can you compare me to him or him to me? There's no comparison because he's hideous. He has no divinity, he has no glory, he has nothing. Verse 7, now that his form is hideous, he has become abominable among angels, and he has come to be called Satan, meaning accuser. Adam, he wished to steal from you this earthly garment of sheepskins so that he could destroy it and let you not be covered with it. Verse 9, what is his beauty that you should have followed him? See his evil works and then look at me, your creator. Look at the good deeds that I do for you. And Satan is still trying to steal our garments. When you eat from his tree of knowledge of good and evil, thinking that you know it all and you want to do what you want to do and you want to be disobedient and be rebellious, he's stolen your glory. He's preventing you from receiving your inheritance, which is the glory. Verse 10, I bound him until you came and saw him and his weakness, and that no power is left with him. Next to me, he's nothing. Right? The Father could just flick him away and he's done for. But he will use him to serve his purpose. And when his purpose is fulfilled, then he's going to cast them into the lake of fire. Verse 11, and Allah released him from his bonds. And that's who we need to be afraid of. We need to be afraid of the Most High. But a lot of us aren't afraid of the Most High. And when I said afraid, I mean having reverence. And that reverence should be not being frightened of him, but have such great respect that you will be careful of what you say and how you speak to him. I see some people talk to the Most High, or they mention his name, but there's such rank disrespect. There's no reverence. Who put those words in your mouth to make you think that you can talk to the Most High and call him by a common name? He's not bro. He's no bro. We don't look at the Most High's Son and call him bro. And we make ourselves equal with him when we say that, and we're not equal with the Son of the Most High. But we get so comfortable and think, oh yeah, because I see other people doing it, so I'm going to do it too because it sounds cool when I refer to him as, oh, the big boss upstairs, or big brother, or bro. How dare you disrespect the Son of the Most High? You wouldn't be able to stand on your 2 feet if he came and stood before you in his glory. And you speak to him like this? You speak about him like this? Some people are going to, when the Most High brings about his correction on our brethren, they're going to wail. Wail. They're going to hold their bellies and wail like a woman in travail. Same book, first book of Adam and Hawa, chapter 36, verse 5. At first, angels trembled at the sight of Adam. When he was glory, covered in light, the angels were afraid of him. They trembled at the sight of Adam and were afraid of him. But now Adam trembled before the angels and was afraid of them. Why? Because he's now made lower than the angels. Before he was higher than the angels, but after he sinned and the glory was taken away from him, he's made lower than the angels. And to think that the Most High's Son, Yahawashua HaMashiach, came through our flesh, the flesh of Maryam, to be partakers of, well, not really partakers, to come through our lineage, to be accounted as one of our brethren. To think that he lowered himself to that level where he is lower than the angels. To be on our level so that he can redeem us and move us back up to our rightful place. He needs higher reverence than just bro. He's not our bro. He is Alahayam, Yahawashua HaMashiach. I took the time to pull up these extracts, especially from the Apocrypha, to show you in detail what we lost when our foreparents, Adam and Hawa, sinned. We lost a lot. To know that we can regain what we have lost is the good news. The roadmap to getting there is not as complicated as many deemed it to be, and neither is it as simple a case of just repenting, as in saying a sinner's prayer, like what the churches have taught us. Adam and Hawa failed to keep the one law in the Garden of Eden. They were commanded not to eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. They were tempted and succumbed to temptation. Now their sin has compounded over the generations to us today. When we are born in sin. No one is born righteous except Hamashiach. He was the only man that was born righteous because he did not born of the seed of Yahusap or Maryam. He was planted in the womb of Maryam. And the one law that they failed to keep, meaning Adam and Hawa, has become a plethora of laws, commandments, judgments, and statutes for us today. Statutes for us today. One law, and now we have all these different laws in order to maintain righteousness and holiness before the Most High. Let's look at 4 Ozara'ah, Ezra chapter 7, verse 48. O Adam, what have you done? For though it was you that sinned, you are not fallen alone, but we all that come from you. So now that one sin was passed on to all of us, except Hamashiach. Many people get caught up trying to figure out what the fruit is that Adam and Hawa ate. Some land on the idea of an apple because the mainstream doctrine church decided that it was an apple. But what really is the fruit of this tree? Forget about the actual fruit. Let's look at it from a spiritual point of view. The tree itself has another name. It's called the tree of rebellion. There's no goodness in this tree. Although it's called the tree of knowledge of good and evil, there's nothing good in that tree. Now, maybe you can guess what that fruit was that Adam and Hawa ate. It's plain and simple, rebellion. That stemmed from disobedience. Rebellion comes when we disobey the word of the Most High. Because you're rebelling against him. You're resisting to do good. that he's commanding us to do. The tree of life is a tree that offers eternal life to anyone who eats of its fruit. It also has another name, the tree of righteousness. And is symbolic of who? Hamashiach, who gives us eternal life when we believe in him. As Adam and Hawa were in the image of Allah Hayam before the fall, they were like an upright planting of the Most High, trees of righteousness. By the way, Yashra'al, Yashar means upright. And Al means Allah Hayam. That's abbreviated for Allah Hayam. So our name, who we are, the Most High, he is found in that name, and also who we represent, what we represent, righteousness, uprightness, is also in our name. Book of Jubilees, chapter 1, verse 16. I will allow them to see abounding peace with righteousness. I will remove them the plant of uprightness. He's speaking about the children of Yashra'al. With all my heart and with all my soul, and they shall be for a blessing and not a curse. And they shall be the head and not the tail. I will build my sanctuary among them. I will dwell with them, and I will be Allah Hayakam. That's Allah Hayam. Your, plural, meaning he's talking about the congregation. And they shall be my people. And this is the covenant. I will be your Allah Hayam, and you will be my people. That's covenant in truth and in righteousness. No, you cannot be affiliated with the Most High, be in covenant with him, and be unrighteous or self-righteous. You have to be righteous. So that means that you're partaking of the tree of life. You're partaking of Hamashiach. Remember what he said to his disciples? You need to drink my blood and eat my flesh. And they thought that he had lost it. And many of his disciples left except for the 12. But he's saying, you need to eat of my righteousness. You need to partake of me, my words. My words have to come into you and dwell in you and be a part of you. Then you'll be able to walk in righteousness because you're partaking of me. And that's the ending of part 1. Stay tuned for part 2. This is a wonderful, wonderful study. It's possibly going to be a big study. I'm not quite finished with it yet. But it is a wonderful study because really and truly there are only 2 trees that are in the world right now. And we're talking in the spiritual realm. We still have the tree of life that we can still partake of. And we have the tree of knowledge of good and evil that the devil draws us, Satan draws us to eat of that fruit. Disobedience, rebel against his commands, rebel against his word, rebel against righteousness, rebel against holiness. Enjoy your life. You're a young person. He can't expect you to give up all your joys, your pleasures, and yet the pleasures are going to kill you. You're sleeping around. You don't know who has what now. There are a lot of diseases out there because trust me, they put a lot of diseases in those vials. And it can pass from one person to another even though they may not have taken the jibby jab jab. This is not a time to be sleeping around. This is a time to eat of the tree of life. To partake of Hamashiach. to walk in obedience to his commandments, all of his commandments and all of his laws, so that he can call you his tree of righteousness, his plant of uprightness. Don't let Satan draw you into the darkness. We're so close now. We're too close. And yet, many in the 11th hour will fall. And with that, I bid you shalom, shalom. May the Most High bless you. May he keep you in his perfect peace. May he bestow upon you all the richness of his blessings, his peace. May he give you his light so that you can see, and ears so that you can hear, and his spirit so that he can teach you, and you will be able to perceive and understand his word. And most of all, may he bestow upon you richly his shalom. And with that, I bid you shalom.